I am Trish McMillan Loehr. I trained horses first, and then I trained dogs, and now I'm back into horses, and I also do cats. So last year I spoke on all 3 species. This year I'm just doing horses and dogs. And Sue is my phone a friend for everything horse. She is an Alexander Curlin Guild member. She was just accepted into the master's program at the University of Edinburgh in animal behavior. Yay, Sue! And yeah, she is an expert on all kinds of things, and especially clicker training. She has really helped me astronomically with my own horses, and I still phone her when I need help. So this is my horse, Joey. You will be hearing lots more about him and his brother, Bendigo. But we're going to cover a bunch of stuff. We're going to really try to blast through this. We're hoping to have time at the end to do a little bit of clicker training with one of you being a horse and one of you being a human. So we'll do a little bit of breakout. If I can talk fast enough to get through it all. So we'll talk about equipment, treat selection, environment, the skills trainers needs, some beginner skills to teach your horse, and a lot of troubleshooting. And boy, oh boy, we could go on for a whole weekend about this. We will be going on for a whole weekend about this in July at my farm. So to quote the wonderful Bob Bailey, the concepts we're going to go over today, they are simple, but that does not mean they are easy. Boy, can I tell you that. So some of the things you'll need to clicker train your horse: you need a clicker of some sort. Those of us who like to ride their horses, and I am one of those, when you've got reins and you're on a horse, it's really hard to carry a mechanical clicker. So my horses are trained to a tongue click. There are some videos in here that do not have a tongue click, and Sue will be providing sound effects. Or she will figure out how to Yes, it's a little hard to tell when the click is. We often start with a target as a first behavior, and that's what we're going to teach you guys as a first behavior if we have time at the end. You have to have something to carry your treats in. You need something that closes up so that if you bend over, the food doesn't all fall out. Who's had that happen? Actually, we've got some new faces in the room. Who is primarily a dog trainer here? Cool. You can raise your hand more than once. Who trains or works with horses as well, or primarily? Yep. And any kitty people? Cat folks? Yay! Awesome. Yeah, so these are things that you need. So I found out when I got into the horse business that my little tiny Karen Pryor treat bag would carry approximately 3 horse pellets. So Sue put me onto the fishing vest as a treat carrier. I have one of those now. It's got multiple pockets. I can have my little peppermint for the end of the ride at the top pocket, and all of my hay pellets in the bottom ones. You can also use a hoof pick as a scratching reward if you don't have fingernails. I don't have fingernails. Or if your fingernails get tired. So there's so many accessories you can get. You get into horse clicker training, boy oh boy, it's like dog clicker. It's not quite as, no, it might be as bad as dog clicker training. There's a lot of stuff. We're going to talk a little bit about mat works, different kinds of targets. You can use a hoof target as well as a nose target. And the basic halter and lead rope are used for startup stuff. But once you get riding, you've got a whole different ball of wax that we're not even going to get into this time. We're just going to talk about groundwork and some beginning behaviors that you can teach a horse. So some of the concerns. Sue has talked a little bit about insulin resistance. If you get her in a corner, she will talk to you about insulin resistance all day. It's a pre-diabetic condition that a lot of horses have because they're not eating scrubby brush on the hills and the mountains. They are eating delicious, lush, sugary hay. And one thing that I found as a dog trainer, what do we want to use with what do we tell all of our clients about treats? Get a high-value treat. Oh my God, the number of times I've torn a milk bone out of somebody's hands and replaced it with chicken, and all of a sudden their dog is working like this. Guess what we do with horses? You do that with a horse, and you have to, like a 60-pound Labrador who's going, hi, more treats. You can just, okay, whatever, a 1,000-pound, 1,200-pound horse who's going, hi, more treats. They can be dangerous. So I have learned low-value treats. Like I said, that peppermint's for the end of the ride. Bye-bye, go see your buddy. So for horses, more sugary things like carrots are more high value. So Sue is my horse phone a friend, my guru, and she put me onto hay pellets. So that's now what I use. Yeah, so and it's hard to find the right ones because the little tiny pellets, the horses, especially young horses, will nibble, and I got blood blisters trying to use smaller pellets, but the larger ones that are about half the size of your pinky finger, 1 or 2 of those is the perfect size for a mouthful for a horse. So we want to bring, like, horses need some go and they need some whoa. And when you start introducing food with horses, you need more whoa. So using lower value treats is important. Some people use their daily grain ration as a treat for the horse. I find it really hard to use grain because of the blood blisters and my horse's habit of trying to get every last little piece. And we'll talk about preloading and the issues around that. So younger horses and beginner horses, it was when I first started clicker training my horse that he was having trouble with the grain that I switched to the larger, lower value treat. We're going to go on at length about delivery mechanics. That's the exercise we have. It's so important. That's one thing that training horses has done for me, is it's made me much more aware of delivery mechanics with dogs. Boy, oh boy, are we some sloppy dog trainers. We can get away with it. They're little animals, comparatively. So going around with your hand in the treat pouch, you can, with dogs, you can throw a treat, you can lob a treat, you can hand a treat, you can drop it on the floor, they'll figure it out. With horses, you've got to be so precise with delivery. They've got to know where that treat's going to go after the click. Really a lot of safety stuff you need to know. And this is where we start out, is protective contact. We have the horse on the other side of a fence. Those of you who were here for the last presentation saw how that can be helpful. The woman was in the stall when that stallion was acting up. So here's Sharon Madeira at her awesome facility in Ocala, Florida, which you should all visit, Equilightment. And she is using scritching. Oh, that's Kathleen. I thought that was Sharon. That's Sharon's facility. It's hard to tell from this angle, but that's Kathleen scratching Gladiator, one of Sharon's geldings, and you can see how much he enjoys scratching as reinforcement. And this is also something you can use from the saddle. So look at that face. So this is another thing when the horses are getting too over-aroused with the food, you can switch over to scratching reinforcement just to get a little more whoa. Really, really enjoying that. So here's one of my trainer friends in North Carolina. This is Gail Hubbard. I said, who wants to come out and train horses in the middle of winter, and I will video you, and you'll get a free lesson, and I'll use you in presentations. And Gail said yes. So here she is working with my gelding Bendigo. And when we're starting new people with horses, we like to teach them over the fence. So here she is on the other side of my gate. And it's like with horses, it's like with dogs. I do all of my dog training in the kitchen, or at least I did until I moved into a tiny house. But once they knew something in the kitchen, then you teach them in the living room, then you teach them on the front lawn, then you take them to Lowe's, you work your way up. So it's the same principle. Having the horse behind a gate or in a stall to teach beginning behaviors is a nice safety thing, and they can have their schoolroom there. So the skills that we need some good observation skills. We need amazing timing. Horses will teach you a lot about timing. We need to figure out what our marker's going to be. I've discovered teaching people how to work with my clicker trained horses, not everybody can click. Sue's got an awesome click. Drink some Mountain Dew so you can do your awesome click. No, it's not going to happen today. Okay, everybody who clicks horses, do your click. Yeah, okay. So not everybody can do that, and some people need to find something different. So my horse's go cue is. So if that's all they can do with their mouth, that's not going to work. They need something unique. So, but mine will also respond to other things. They're very forgiving. But having something short and sharp and that you can still have reins is really helpful. So we're going to do our little dance. We're doing our little dance, so Sue can talk to you about treat delivery, which I learned a lot about from her, and it's so key with horses. You've got to be so precise with them. And I think this is a way that horses can make us better dog trainers, even if we never plan to have a horse.
So treat delivery, why does it matter? And I don't know if you've noticed it or not, but we've talked about treat delivery maybe 10 times already in this. So I just want you to understand it really is essential to have good treat delivery mechanics. One of the reasons why is because it prevents problem treat taking behavior. That can include nipping, biting, shoving, all those things that can happen because you have goodies and they really don't understand how to turn you on as a vending machine yet. It sets the tone for every interaction. I mean, if you think about it, if your delivery is measured and calm and precise, you set the tone for the entire session. There's no anxiety, there's not the tension there. It can also be used to suggest behavior, feeding for position. I know that's a common dog term. It's also used in horses as well. I'm gonna. So this is Rich and Trinket, and this is Rich's first time. He's a dog trainer. He's a great sport. He'd never been with horses before, and this was his initial treat delivery. So we're gonna watch it again.
She's like, I know where the target is.
Maybe. I did. What did you notice?
I already told you.
Hand in his pocket. What else do you notice? Is there anything else that you see?
She's going for his pocket first.
Pocket first, so he's preloading. Okay. So this is after we work together. I'll try to click. I keep forgetting. This is actually good manners. I'm late. But we want her to stand. What are the differences? Right. Right. She's not encroaching on him. They've worked together all day by this point, so they understand each other a little bit better. Is there a difference in his cadence? Okay. Notice the difference between cadences. Dog trainer, beginner. It doesn't even have to be a dog trainer. Beginner versus somebody who has a little bit of experience. So things that we can notice. It's not just about the delivery itself, but it's how the trainer stands in balance. If you think about it, if you're on the side of a horse and you're twisting like this to deliver the feed, and there'll be a video of me that I'm going to ask you, so what am I doing wrong? And then hint number one is one of the things I'm doing wrong is I'm twisting. So if something happened and that horse spooks, I'm totally out of balance and I'm probably going to be on the ground. But if you can move your feet to deliver, you stay in balance, and that presence and that calmness and that grounding in your body is very helpful. Notice he always uses the outside hand, and we're going to talk about field of visions in a horse as well. He uses the outside hand. There's no preloading. And so what do we find? What do we find when somebody preloads their hand? When they go ahead and they get the treat in their hand before they click. How does that change the meaning of the click? Does it change the meaning of the click? I think it does. So the hand reach becomes the click, and the click is really superficial, because they know that when you reach in the hand that they've done it right. And we have to consider the physiology of the horse, blind spots. We're going to have a graphic here. And one of the things, and I've worked with Alex Curlin, so this is a key thought always in my mind, is to always feed so that you're in balance, but also so that the horse is in balance. We want to encourage the horse to feel and understand what it's like to stand in balance over his 4 feet. We just start with that in mind, and incrementally through our training with them, we get to develop that and hone it a little bit more. Because really, truly, it's less of an effort for us, and it's less of an effort for them as well. And then we touched on cadence. Prompt does not mean fast. You click, you promptly go into delivery mode. That doesn't mean that you need to rush it. Okay, and this is when things don't go quite as expected. Now, we may watch this one a couple times too.
Did you click in? I did. Did you click in? You have to feed? Well, I was. But okay, got me before I did it. It's okay. It's part of it. And off we go. Maybe not that one. He leaned into me and I kept walking.
What did you notice there? Did you catch what happened? He tried to nip her. Did you notice? Yes, and she guarded herself, which, that's a natural reaction. And he startled, which is his natural reaction. Did you notice the lead rope? Way up here. Did you notice that she was doing backward traction on the horse? Did you notice the length of the lead rope?
Maybe not that.
Short. So in essence, when we use a short lead rope, we ask them to come into our body because we don't give them the space to manage their own body with us. So if you're working on a halter and lead, this is also a consideration, how we manage the equipment that goes with the horse as we deliver treats. And we talked about what did you notice. This is Daiquiri again, I love him. What did we notice about the human? What did you notice about how she was in her body? I mean, obviously she was kind of hunched forward. She was nervous. And when she's nervous, it exacerbates. He knows she's nervous, but he doesn't know why. He doesn't know if there's something to be nervous about or what that might be. And so he was tense and he was a little bit impatient because her mechanics weren't right. And we'll troubleshoot this at the end. So let's talk about the horse's field of vision. This is how a horse sees. When we think about their eyes and the length of their face, this tan up here is a blind spot. They can't see here. So if we do treat delivery with our inside hand and we scoop underneath like this, and we have a young horse or a beginner horse, do you think they can see it? It makes it more difficult. And that difficulty in seeing it also leads to anxiousness and tension and a grabbing. I mean, it all really ties together there. Whereas if we use our outside hand, and even when they start, if we exaggerate that delivery, they always see your hand. They always know where the hand's going to be, and we're dependable, and there's a pattern that they can follow. Okay, so basic horse skills. Those are really the key. I cannot stress enough that delivery mechanics are a key skill for the trainer. When we go to basic horse skills, this list is based on Alex's list. Targeting, good manners, she also calls it grown-ups are talking, the ability to move your horse forward and backward, ears forward, mat work where they target with their feet, and head down. The beauty of these 6 skills is not only is it a great way for your horse to learn training and for you to learn clicker training and you to work with them, they're also fabulous troubleshooting tools. Almost any problem that you have with a horse can be affected with one of these tools, a combination of these tools. So targeting is our introductory lesson. And this is Nell in Australia and her mid-20-year-old standard bred working on targeting. It has multiple uses, trailer loading, targeting for veterinary care, all kinds of things like that. And you can teach multiple body parts to target. So if you have to do eye care, ask them to target their eye to your hand and work from that so they're accustomed to your hand at their eye. They bring it to you, you don't reach for it, and it just has an incredible amount of uses. And because of that, it can also become an advanced skill. So we can use multiple targets. We can target the shoulder and the hip and ask for side passing, and multiple targets, multiple body parts. So tips, start out simply. Put your target where the horse can reach it. If the horse is naive, if the horse has been trained with more aversive techniques, put it where the horse can just bump their nose into it. You may actually have to bump the target into their nose and click that for them to get the idea. Be sure and remove the target from the horse's view, because if we think about, I'm delivering the treat, but the target's still here, and they're halfway in, and they know the target has something to do with it, they're going to try to touch the target again before you have the opportunity to present it. So we want to remove the target from their view. Actually, we're going to present the target, we're going to remove it in the other hand and treat with the outside hand. So there's some manual dexterity there. I say allow time for them to chew. They don't have to finish it, but they at least have to get a little bit of a start on it, and then you offer it again. So it's distinct trials. And this is a sample.
I'm ready.
Yeah. So very deliberate. If he was a beginner horse, this would be exactly how you would start. And as a beginner trainer, it's exactly how you start. Offer again.
Would you keep them tied?
The reason that he's tied in this situation is because Trish had both horses there. She didn't have the ability to make it a separate, she didn't have stalls yet. And remember, Ben is the one that's a little bit more aggressive to Joey. So in this case, it's not ideal, but she had 2 learners, 2 human learners and 2 horse learners, so that was how she managed it that day. And this is, so when we do this, we can move on to novel targets. This is one way to use it. And this is Mora and her horse. And so she was telling us about how when she's on the trail, and he's going to offer again. So she's telling us here, and I turned the volume down because there's a lot of extraneous. She had asked him to target and clicked. He told her, we always do this twice. So she moved from the one to the other one. And then we don't do that one twice, we just walk off. So good tool to use on the trails. We teach them targeting. They're used to touching novel objects. We can take it on the trail too. So if something spooks, if something makes them nervous, we can ask them to target it. And they, it's always been a good thing to touch things that I was asked to do. And so it's a good troubleshooter. And now we come to good manners. And this is Shadow and my lovely orange vest. Good manners are essential. Alex calls them grown-ups are talking. And the criteria is the horse keeps his head forward between his 2 shoulders, where the perfect horse would be. Hopefully in balance. We as trainers, delivery mechanics, and good manners are the keys to a successful clicker launch with horses. I mean, I don't know how many of you have heard anybody suggest to a traditional horse person to use clicker training and treats, and they say, oh, you're going to turn him into a biter. You're going to turn him into a biter. And you can. You really can. It's not about the horse. It's about the trainer. Delivery mechanics and consistent, persistent grown-ups are talking. As I say, it's a very important lesson. So this is what it kind of looks like. I thought we were clicking these, but missed one or 2. This is Callie, and I'll try and click. And this is grown-ups. And she has some duration on this. When you first start out, you might just, if you can get them to do it a second. I'm early. There, I did it. So let's watch it again. And this is the one that I say, so tell me what I did wrong. Tell me what I did wrong. I didn't move my feet. I'm not really delivering actually in the center. And these are the nitpicky things that you get when you do your own video and you go back and watch it. I mean, most of the people I would show this would never pick up on that. Look at the one thing that I do right is I'm letting her manage her own body. The length of lead rope between me and the horse allows her to put herself in the right place. And actually in time, they start to target the weight of the snap underneath them. So you can move and suggest movements, and the snap weight actually directs them about where they want to go. Yes?
Would you, similarly with this, start with like a high rate of reinforcement?
Yes.
So you're
Well,
clicking and treating for
as easy, the way that it actually starts is if this is my horse, and we've been doing targeting. We've done targeting, and then my horse incrementally starts to bug me. Then I'm going to drop the target, and I'm going to wait until she takes her nose off of me, and I'm going to treat her over here where she needs to be. Okay. Position the reinforcer, and then she does it again, and I'm going to treat her over here. And then what might happen is she's going to do it again, and she takes it away, and she does this. And if I can get my hand back, to my default position, I'll click her while she's still out there if she doesn't move, and reinforce that duration. So she doesn't think she has to touch me first in order for me to reinforce her. We want to start establishing duration as soon as we can, because it's really about where your head is. It's not about touching me first. So yes, you want to use as high a rate of reinforcement as you can, but it's all dependent on the learner. We traditionally start with targeting. If your horse sees the treats and is all over you, you might start with good manners first.
I would probably start with good manners with my horse first.
So it's learner dependent. It's always a study of one. No, you can't.
No,
You can't. So that's what that one looks like.
Oh, my turn.
Your
We
turn.
Do our dance.
Do our dance.
Yeah, I was using too high a value of reinforcer, and I made my horse into a bit of a monster by not doing enough of this. I got a 4-year-old horse with no training, and I had trained horses conventionally, but this was my first clicker horse, and it's so easy to do it wrong. So,
Well, and I'm going to say too that as we work to push clicker training out to a conventional world, if your horse is a mugger and nips you, that is not a good message to send. That's another reason why these two lessons are so important.
yeah, and the cool thing is, like, I switched to this anytime my horses start getting nudgy with me, and it's amazing. I have conventional horse people come out to my farm too, and they can't believe how polite my horses are around food, considering they've been trained with food. They're more polite than their horses who got one apple and now they're all over you. So backing is the next thing we teach. We often teach it out of treat delivery. So we have the target, and the horse touches the target, we click, and then we feed them a little bit back, and we have them start using the treat delivery to start teaching them move out of your space. That's another really polite behavior. My clicker trained horse loves to back. Anybody seen how people conventionally train horses how to back? There's some scary methods out there. You gotta respect their space. You gotta be really harsh with them. And Joey, if somebody gets on who doesn't know how to ride, he will either stand still or he will offer backing up, because that's something that he's been rewarded for and he enjoys it. So it was taught with the treat delivery to start, and then teaching him come forward this way and back up, following my shoulder movement. And he's super polite about backing, and he does it on a verbal, and he does it on several. And it teaches them body awareness. So we started with backing in a straight line, and then we started with backing around their stall, and you're going to hit the edge, and you're going to learn how to turn. And it's, anybody who's done agility with dogs, they have no idea anything exists behind their shoulders. So horses have the same problem. So here's Joey. We are calling him Buddy in this video because he was still part of a cruelty case at this point, but it is Joey. And here's Sue doing some lovely work with him in the stall with targeting forward and then feeding back. So,
He's got a neighbor, so.
oh yeah, he's got a neighbor. So he's making kind of grumpy faces at his neighbor over here, who's a little jealous that he's getting all this attention, and she's making faces at him, which you can't see. So that was for the neighbor. You see how he's starting to follow Sue's shoulder forward and back. Look how polite he is. With all this food in his stall, with his awesome target that he loves. And this is on Sue's YouTube.
Yeah.
This is your YouTube channel. She's got some good videos. She needs some more good videos. If anyone wants to go to Indiana and tape for her. So he's getting a little more duration.
Your shoulder becomes a guide.
Compare this. If anybody's seen a horse conventionally trained how to back, this is night and day. And that's Sue's good click that she does. I can't imitate.
Okay.
So another great lesson that I had to do with Joey, you can see how easily he goes to ears back. He's an Appaloosa, he's a little emotional sometimes. So the same way when he starts getting a little nudgy with me, we'll go to teaching polite manners around food. If he starts being a little ear pinny, if his ears are back a little too much, I will stop and start working on shaping ears forward. And sometimes I have to wait until he sees something off in the distance and one ear comes forward, and we'll click that. But now that we've played the game a lot, he understands that if I am waiting for something, probably ears forward is going to work. And this can change their relationship. This becomes a behavior that they offer. And if you've looked at the research around humans and facial expressions, I really would love to see fMRIs on horses and see if the emotions are changing as we're teaching ears forward, because his whole body sort of animates and perks up. I don't think it's just like, I hate you, but I'm going to put my ears forward. I think it changes his emotions. Yeah, and I am the discriminative stimulus for ears forward, for happy things happening. So interesting stuff around shaping. So you can see in the back, he's got one ear forward, you could click for that. This other ear went forward. At the beginning, you could click for that, but wait for, that's where we click. And then wait for it again. And with Joey, he'll start with his ears like a little bit back, and then he'll start going, oh, we're playing this game, we're playing this game, we're playing this game. And it's neat to watch his, I have a video of it, but I don't have time to show it all. So we want to play with you guys. Oh, and we are pretty early. I wonder if I should show, I have video of mats and head down. Yeah, we need about 15 minutes. We've talked really fast and we didn't get introduced, so yay. Yay for you not knowing who we are. We put those at the end, right, the mat video? Yeah. So here's some work on head down. This is something that I use all the time. My horses know lots of cues for head down. Tap. If I'm riding, I can tap them in the middle of their neck, and they'll drop their heads. If I'm beside them, raised hand can signal head down. A little nudge on the lead rope can be a head down. There's lots and lots of, and that's something that they offer a lot. And as I'm no longer competitive, just like people go into clicker training with dogs and they don't care about competition anymore. I trail ride now, and I think it's the most fun thing you can do with your horse, and it does use a lot of skills. And because they've got that blind spot, I can ask them to put their head down if I see a log that they haven't seen, or if I want them to investigate a stream before they step in. So here's some different signals for head down. And you can see how that can turn into a raised hand cue pretty quickly. Yeah. Yeah, make sure they've got enough lead rope before they do this. And then Sue's horses are the Cadillacs of clicker-trained horses. So she'll keep her head down until she hears the click. And it's nice to have that duration. So you guys know how to do a cue transfer, old cue, new cue.
Down.
So she's staying down and then doing the touch.
Down. Down. Down.
You can see how she's following her head down with the hand so that she's not going to bump the... But that first woman could not have done that with her short lead rope. Anybody who was here in my last talk knows how I feel about choice, and giving the horse the choice is really important. She's enjoying that. Here's how I used mat work with Joey. He loves his mats. That's one of the first things he learned, was to target his front feet to the mat. He's kind of like a Labrador in Appaloosa clothing. And here's a condensed trailer loading session. I don't have my own trailer, so I had to borrow other people's trailers. Like, I will scoop the poop out of your trailer if you let me borrow it for a few minutes to teach my horse. Because the only times he's been in trailers is when we're moving barns. One day, maybe this will be the year I get my trailer. Don't have to rely on hitching rides, but using multiple mats to teach him. He's thinking about picking it up there. He is a Labrador in Appaloosa clothing. I got one more mat up top, and he says, "That's too far, Mom, too far." I'm like, all right, we won't go quite so far. Okay, I can step on that. Maybe, maybe. There we go. I'll take one hoof. Has anybody seen how horses get loaded at the end of the day at a show if they don't feel like going on? If you've got a clicker-trained horse, you have other options. You can use targets, you can use mats, you can use just following your shoulder. There's his back. And I don't have a tight lead rope, and I'm not yanking him onto the trailer. There's my cool fishing vest, which is not orange. Yep. Yeah. I don't use a lot of verbals. It's funny. With dog training, I do a ton of verbals. With horse training, a lot of it is body movement and gesture. So I'm using my hand to invite him forward, and then he's seeing the mat. Yeah, I'm inviting him forward, and he knows there's mats there. Yeah, he's got his back foot. Look at the relaxation on that foot. He's like, yeah, we're just hanging out by the trailer, which I'm mildly worried about. And I've got another mat up at the front of the trailer. This is 6 minutes, this whole session. We've condensed it slightly. This isn't hours and hours and hours of work. It's just a horse who understands mats and doesn't know a lot about trailers. And I'm asking him to back out rather than waiting for him to get frightened and back himself out.
Yeah, he is.
There's that.
Recommend mats as opposed to nose targeting for
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, well, you wouldn't nose target to a mat. You'd foot target to the mat. You can use nose targets to a, yep, depends on the horse. There's a study Jesus did on trailer loading using I like the mats because I can send him. The nose target on a stick, you'd have to secure it in there and he'd have to see it.
Stationary.
Yeah, you can use a stationary target. He loves his mats, and I use them when I'm riding. If he does something brilliant, I might ask him to go and stand on his mat. I use the mats to teach him to cross tie. I use the mats to teach him to line up with a mounting block. He's got an awesome stay, which I taught without mats. I don't know why, but look at that. 6 minutes. So we're going to let Sue describe. We have time to do this?
Okay, yeah, we got time.
We're going to have time to play with being a horse. So this is your exercise. I'm stuck.
That's okay. We're good.
Yeah, I think we have time to do that. How are we doing for time? Okay, yeah, we got almost 20 minutes. We'll have 15 minutes when we're done. But I think this will really help you have empathy for your horse.
So we talked about troubleshooting. You got to give me the other one. We talked about troubleshooting, and really troubleshooting is, yes, there's horse problems, but really it's about the trainer. You know, it's about the trainer having the skills to do the troubleshooting. And one of the things that we do often is use human horse work before you take it to the horse. And one thing to get your mechanics all correct and stable is if you use a human being as your human horse can tell you what you're screwing up. And you can iron out your mechanics and get them all in the right place. This is not being cooperative. Another tool that we can use is self-video, because that tells you what's really going on. You saw the one of me where I'm just like, so tell me what I did wrong. And you very quickly develop eyes. And nobody else really has to see it unless there's something that you want somebody to help you with. But it's very revealing for yourself. And if there's issues, the key is to always go back to the basics. Go back to the basics. So we're going to watch this one first. Well, I guess we'll preview the exercise that we're going to ask you to do, and then we'll watch it kind of pulling it all together. So the one that we're going to ask you to do, and we're going to ask you to pair up, is that
Find a barrier.
find a barrier, a line, pull a chair around, whatever. This is what we're going to ask you to do. I'm going to put this down.
Long neck, so you have to hold your arms straight.
Yes, because that mimics the blind spot as well. So if I ask for the target,
Your horse can do whatever they want.
I'm going to click. I'm going to transfer the target into my inside hand, reach with my outside hand, and deliver.
Sue loves when I'm the horse.
Yes, she just makes me crazy. So this is the totality of what the exercise that we're going to ask you to do. And it looks really easy. It's really simple. It isn't necessarily easy. And so if you didn't have a tongue click, think what that would be like with a clicker, because then you're managing another piece of equipment. Yes?
So this is not on the exercise, but I'm just noticing that you're a righty. Do you ever switch sides?
Oh, yeah.
It is crucial that you switch sides. It's crucial that you switch sides, not only for your own ambidexterity, but for them. So,
If this is easy for you, do it the other way around.
and if your horse doesn't take right canter leads, you need to work on the other side. So yes, now you've just upped the criteria for everybody in the room. Thank you.
Right, I was just curious.
Good job.
IAABC, we got some fancy training.
Good job. Okay, so this is what it looks like. And this is what it looks like in video form. Yeah. This is Rich and Tracy. Yeah. This is the learning process for him. And the other thing,
I know, it seems weird.
the other thing, and you'll hear, you can see your mouth moving. The other thing about human horses is, like I said, they can tell you how things feel. They can tell you if you're working on rope handling, how that feels to them. Does this feel better? Does that feel better? Is this a soft enough feel? Can you tell what I'm asking you to do? And it's amazing the quietness that you can have if you really want to. So we're going to practice this. So find a partner. Yes.
Because with the handling, I've done this targeting with horses, and I found it so confusing how to always change the hand. Well, at first I chose a whistle, and instead of a clicker, that I found really great.
That works too.
But I thought it was kind of like better to use the inside hand because it got the horse farther away from me than rather chaining.
I'm not going to fight with you over the hand that you use. I'm just telling you what I have found.
But you found this.
And those are the reasons why I do. Now,
Who got bitten by her horse had brought him in with that sort of thing.
but if you feel comfortable with it and your horse is not anxious about the food when you deliver, then you may be able to adapt that way. But if you have a horse that's anxious about delivery and you start getting blood blisters, try the outside hand so that they can actually see you deliver.
Human nature, I mean, when I've taught clients, you're right, with the inside hand, they start getting lazy and start doing this.
Mm-hmm.
So.
But then the short hand,
Right,
Yes.
So the outside really makes them aware of,
I think it was my lack of.
Do we have one left over?
to just
This is
yeah, for yourself it's fine, but when you're teaching other people, they get lazy like that, within 3 minutes,
Yeah,
they're
for-
back- they're like this.
For my presentation last year, I needed a video of a horse, stand close so I can use your,
I will.
wrapping around me, and it took me 3 clicks with Bendigo, feeding him improperly. So I fed him inside hand right here, and in 3 clicks, he is wrapped around me.
Yeah, so what
This is what
happens,
makes people
so we
have
can,
better training.
and you can mimic that with your partner, but what happens is if you bring your hand closer in, they're coming in closer, your pocket of goodies is right here. And it just draws them in,
It's hard. That's why we
understandably
practice-
so.
And they step on you. All right, so stand up. Let's be partners. Sue and I will come around and help.
All right, you're gonna have to coach me on the horse now.
We have one